welcome back. So last week we had our first big snow. What is unusual because normally I have been here, it's my 4th November here, and we have had normally a big storm in October, then everything clears out, and then in November, beginning of November, we have snow for the rest of the year. Until April next year, end of April. And then we have just flurries in May. But this year it was really nice. We had a little bit of snow in November that didn't stay in the ground. And then last week we had, at the end of November, we had a big storm here. And we now have snow everywhere. So now I'm not splitting wood anymore, I'm shoveling snow. But it's okay, I don't mind. I do enjoy being here in the winter. I think it's beautiful and it's really nice. And I stay mostly indoors anyway, so it's good. We went out to see a waterfall, because last year was the first year we went to see the waterfall in the winter. We discovered a trail that is easier to get there. So last year we went and it was cool because you could see the steps of the water starting to freeze in some parts. So you had ice. We still don't have ice, but we had a lot of snow. And because we have a lot of pines in that area, it was like Wonderland, winter Wonderland. It was really, really beautiful. I'm grateful for being here. It's nice. And my wood stove is going. So hopefully this is the season for dying for me. And I also would like to show my orange tree that has a lot of oranges on it. We have it now for maybe 4 or 5 years. In October, end of October, normally I bring her in, and then in May I take her out. And this year, she's just beautiful. She blossomed a lot when she was outside. And now I have a lot of oranges. So that's pretty cool. I had oranges before, but not that many. So I'm pretty happy. She's pretty. I'm giving her some coffee grounds whenever we have guests because I don't drink coffee. So I'm putting coffee grounds there to help with nutrients, and they say it's good. So it's pretty, and I love her, and I wanted to share with you guys because I really love my tree. So I have a bunch of stuff to talk about, not that many, but a few items and a few things that I was doing this past 2 weeks. So I started because I decided I want to do some bows. And I wanted bows more or less like this. And I said, well, maybe I can use the same process that I used to do my slippers, and I can have the bows done. So I needed a base that would be firm so that I can wrap the yarn, the fiber around, and do my felting. And I did that. I embellished the stuff, put some different yarn all around, and then I went to bed because I didn't have time to do the thing. And when I go to bed, I say, this is hard. This is not going, it's not flexible. So when the felts, it's going to shrink to the mold, and it's not going to, I won't be able to take it out. So I'm just going to have a little thing here. I could, if I wanted to make a bag or something, I could felt to the mold, cut here, and even though I would have to cut in the middle for it to go out, so it would be not very nice. So during the night, I had a hard time sleeping because I was thinking, how am I going to solve this? I'm not going to undo it. So the way I did it is I felted it a little bit. This one I was able to put within stockings. And then before it was completely felted, I cut it from here to here, And I end up doing the felting inside and outside after I took the mold off. And that's what I got. I got this thing that I did a finishing, and I kind of like it. And what I decide to use it for is to have yarn. So I have a ball of yarn here. I put a button that I can easily close, and then I can have the yarn out. So I like the project, and it was very fast. That's the other thing, I like projects. And if I wanted, this could be a nice gift to a knitter, right, that I have. Or you could even have this open and have it to put a vase with flowers and stuff. So I have a use for this. So I did my second test because I thought I need something flexible. And I had 2 yoga mats, and I don't use either of them. I decided to make a mold with 3 cuts of them round, and then I just put the fiber around it and I did it. The thing here is, first of all, it's very thick because I think I put too much fiber. And that's the thing, because I saw the bow on the internet, and normally you do the bow by putting little pieces of fiber, and so you have more control on what is going to be there, right? In this case, it was a test. I think I put too much fiber. I should put less fiber. And the other thing I did is I decided to have this in the dryer. So I put it in a dryer and I let it there for a while, not too long, but enough that it shrunk and it was like this. But because it's flexible, I cut in the middle and I was able to do it. So I did a finishing with some novelty yarn that I had spun, and I really like it. I don't know yet what I'm going to put in, but this was a test. But it's a nice gift. And what I plan to do is use less fiber in future tests and see how it goes. The other thing interesting with this is that instead of using the stocking because it was too large, I just used laundry washing cloths, lingerie washing cloths. Those bags that we get in dollar stores or anywhere. So I put that on here, one that was the perfect size, and I used it until I was ready to, the fiber was secured and I was ready to do. So this was a very fast project and can be a gift. I think our first Christmas here, what I did is I did the small one. Some people use oranges to do this felting thing, and then they cut on the top. But I had a little bowl that I used to get orange juice, and I did that. So it was small bags like this wide, and I had leftover on the top. I put chocolate in a bowl, and then I gave to my neighbors. So it was an easy, non-expensive gift to give to neighbors, and my sister got 3 of them because she liked it so much. So, that was an easy Christmas gift. Then we decided we're going camping in Algonquin Park in December. And because we are going camping, and we plan to stay 4 nights at least there, we are going to go hiking. And last week we decided to go to Algonquin Park to see where our spot was going to be. It's 1 hour north of here, more or less. And my husband, and we went to Huntsville, and we were not prepared at all. when we got there to get dog food, we said, why don't we go, my husband said, why don't we go check our spot in the Algonquin Park. And we said, oh, the dogs are here with us, let's go. And we went there. I didn't have a hat, but I had boots. But he didn't have boots. So when we got back to the car, he was with freezing feet. And I decided that I was going to make some warm socks for him. And because I decided to make some warm socks, I went to my stash of spun yarn, and I was looking for some fiber there. I don't know why, but I think I am in my brown phase. Normally I'm not a brown person, but I am in my brown phase. So I did a lot, not a lot, but I did a few dyeing. And this is a thick yarn that I'm going to do socks for him. My goal is to have 4 socks done before December 26th, that is when we are going, so that they will be very warm and he can wear with the boots, because the boots are normally a bigger size, so thick socks are warm, and they are also good for you to have your feet in the boots, right? And the other thing is that even if you get wet, wool keeps you warm, so that's a good thing. And these are 100% wool, most probably only Corriedale. Then because I had some leftover dyes that I used to dye in the ball, and I put everything together there because I wanted brown, and it was a pink that I'm not a pink person. So I got a very nice dark brown. I love it. And it was not as steady, so I had pinks and reds, so when I put everything else, it is not a solid yarn, but it's very beautiful. And then because I still had some dye there, I got this yarn. This yarn was originally something like this, red, blue, and more like a pinkish, some white, some yellow, but it was a more pale blue. So it was really ugly. And I put there, and I got these tones of greens. And I think this is a perfect yarn for socks. So I'm going to make some socks out of it. Not the thick socks, but socks. And I'm going to easily get a pair of this. I think it's beautiful. So I think more than a year ago, when we were traveling, I was tired because normally I do a 3-ply yarn in general. Lately, like last year, I tried some 4-ply. I've been now doing some 4-ply, but normally I'm a 3-ply. And I said, I want to do something different in spinning. So I have this book, Spinner's Book of Yarn Design, and it's Sarah Anderson. And I love this book. I wish I had more time to use it more. And one of the things that she talks here is about crepe yarns. Crepe yarns is when you get a 2-ply yarn in one direction, then you get a singles in another direction, and so you have 2 singles going Z, then you ply them S, and then you spin a singles S, and then you ply them Z. So you have a 2-ply yarn in one direction, then you have a singles in the same direction of your ply, and then you ply everything in the other direction, the 3 plies. And you get a yarn that should be stronger. It's not a cable yarn, but it's a stronger yarn, and it is. That should be good for socks. So I did this one, and they were again in a light gray bluish color, and I put it together with some other dyes that I had, and it turned out green, and it was really, really nice. It's a dark green. I like it better. So I don't know if I have enough for a long socks, but I will make socks of them. But I do recommend this Sarah Anderson book because It is really good, really, really good. I do love it a lot. Then still in dyeing, it's for a project, like one of the projects that I post. I dyed this in the ball. So some people call it cake, some people call it ball. This is a ball. It's a yarn that you put it in a woolly winder to make a ball. And I dyed this one. This is leftover from my daughter's sweater, that not leftover of the fiber of the sweater, but because I put too much dye in that sweater, I put a lot of fiber there, and I put dry fiber, so it got the dye differently, and that was okay. And then I did this that I got with the dyeing in the ball. Dyeing in the ball is always a surprise. You never know how it's going to turn out. And I do love surprises in the dye. As I said before, worst comes to worst, you just dye in a dark color and that's what it is. But I got nice colors of brown, and I have some greens, and I really like it. And I even have still some purple from the original yarn that I thought turned out really good. So I have to find a project for this. I'm short of 600 grams. I think it will be enough to make some kids' sweater. And this will be on my next project video. So that's what I wanted to say about dyeing. I'm spinning. I got some fiber. I have a lot of fiber. But I had some border elaster that I had not washed it very well, because I thought it's a long wool, should be okay, right? I was wrong. It was not okay, because border elaster, the one that I got, and normally I think despite of being a long wool, they had a lot of grease. So the grease didn't come out well. And once you wash, you put soap, it's harder to take the grease off if you don't do it well. So I'm now working, and also it felted a little bit in the bottom. So I'm going flock by flock, cutting it, putting in the lingerie laundry bags, and then I use the soap scour to wash it, and I succeed to take the grease off. Then once I took the grease off, I blended it's a dark gray. I blended it with Corriedale, that is softer, and I also put some black alpaca that I had, and this is what I'm getting on the fiber. So these are the singles. I have done 2. This is going to be a 3-ply, and I want it for a hat. So I have done 2. I still have this amount of fiber to do. It's not coarse. It's nice. It's not the softest, but it's nice. So this is what I want to do. So with the socks that I want to do for my husband, I spun one of them. And this was also a crepe yarn. And it doesn't feel that good on the hand. It feels like more firm than regular socks would be. But when he puts them on, and I had him put them on, he says it's very comfortable. So I do like to knit socks toe up. And the reason being is because mostly my yarn is hand spun. So some of it, I have some sock yarn that I bought, but in general, my sock yarn is hand spun. I still have to weave in the ends. And the reason I didn't weave in the ends for this was to show that when I was binding off, that's all I had left over to bind off on this last sock. So I'll be weaving the ends and finishing it today. But, so the way I do this is I check the needle size that I should use for my hand spun yarn. And then I start with the foot here, this part. And normally I knit socks mostly for me or my husband. So then I try our feet to see if it fits, and then I know the number of stitches. Once I know the number of stitches that I have to work with, I look for a pattern that I find. And this pattern that I have here, I don't know if you can see because it's a variegated color, is from the Japanese pattern stitch books that I bought and I showed you last video. So I kind of like it very much. It was an easy pattern and easy to do. And just for you to know what I do here when I'm ready for the heel, I just divided the number by 3 and I increased that number, and then after working both rounds, front and back, and then I just decrease them going here and I join it back. So that's a longer sock. Normally I like my socks to be up to here, but because they're boot socks, I did them longer. The other thing I like about this is I think you can notice that the end is like a flower. It's opening up, and the bind off. And this bind off is from this book and video. It's Ann Budd Sock Knitting Masterclass. What I like about this binding off is that it really looks, it's easier to put on, and then when you have the socks on your legs, it just straightens up and looks okay. And the way you do this is that you knit one, you do a yarn over, you knit the second stitch, and then you pass the yarn over and the stitch on the top of that stitch that you just knit. So you have again one stitch on the right needle, and then you do again in yarn over, knit another stitch, and pass 2 off. And that's great, because one of the problems I used to have with my first socks is that I would bind off and it was not so flexible. And then as I was washing my wool, because I always use 100% wool, not wash wool, and then the top would get very stiff, and I wasn't able to go through my heel with the socks. Another thing is my husband has large heels, so he needs to have something that is flexible to go through. So this is one of the 4 socks I want to knit for him, and if I have time, I would like to knit me some socks too, some thick socks. And this is one that is going to take a longer time to knit, but they're going to be thick too. So I knit Portuguese style, so I have the yarn on my neck. And when you're knitting Portuguese style and you want to do collar work, you work on the back, you purl instead of knit. So this is normally how I work. And it's good because yesterday I just counted the back to see if I had the correct number. And this is how the right side is looking. So this is a very thick yarn. Socks, because I'm doing the Fair Isle, right? It has flexibility still. I'm gonna put it like this. So it's pretty nice. I put on his feet to know. I'm doing them a little bit bigger. My friends told me that if you do a very tight gauge on your socks, there are less chances of it felting. I'm not 100% sure, but let's see. Because I want to be sure it's going to fit on him for a while. So even though socks are supposed to have negative ease, I like to make mine without the negative ease, just so that they last longer. And normally, even though they are 100% wool, I wash them in cold water cycle, but I let them dry naturally. So what I'm doing about this pattern is I got this book from Alice Starr Moore's. It's Fair Isle Knitting. This is another book that I like a lot. It has history. I like history. And it has a lot of patterns. So what I'm doing here is a sample. So you have a lot of possible pages and pages of possible Fair Isle patterns that differ in sizes. So what I want to do is make this, I haven't knitted much yet, but I want to make this a sample socks. So I'm just going to follow what I have in the book, and then I'm going to do them. And let's see how it's going to work, right? Then I haven't started I have knitted a little bit to see gauge wise for this yarn, and this is a gray yarn that I showed the magazine last week for you. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do, if I'm going to do, how I'm going to do that yarn. I have this yarn for a while now, and I had that pattern in my mind for it. The problem is that I don't know how much fiber I have, and if it would be enough. So again, I got into a stall because I couldn't do it. So I went to the magazine, and what I'm doing now when I want to do a pattern, I go to the magazine and I read everything that it says, and I write down how it's going to work, right? I make drawings, how I have to do the decreases and increases. Then when I have to do decreases or increases, I have this, now I started to, I do have those things that you can put on your needle, counters, and you can do, but I don't like those. So what I do is I mark a row per row when I have to do increasings, and that helped me a lot to control where I have to do the stuff. So I really went to the magazine and I read the whole chart and I did a schedule, but I still don't know if this yarn is going to be enough, what I have, because I have two pounds of it. So I was very glad. It's been a while that I want to buy this. It's a yarn balance. I think it's also called McMorran scale. And this is good for measuring, for you to know your yards per grams yarn. So I do have this scale. This scale is what they use for jewelry, right? But the thing is, it's great for dyes. So when I am preparing the dye with the dye powder, it's perfect. It's perfect. But it's a jewelry scale. But I try to get 1 yard of yarn and put it here, and it's too little. So this is what you use for a yarn scale to measure the yarn. And I got it, I found the first one. It came on one of those ads, I think. But it was, they wouldn't ship to Canada. So I thought, well, my sister can buy it for me, and when this pandemic is over, I already have 2 books there that I got, and other things, so that's okay. But I found on Etsy somebody in, let me just see where. She's, okie dokie. Let me see here. So Mihály's Fiber Arts, and they ship to Canada. So I'm pretty happy. They're in Wisconsin. So that was pretty good. I think I'm going to get this within a few days because they shipped it, I think, yesterday. So I'm glad. I'm waiting for that. Once this yarn balance comes, I will measure and then wait and see how many yards I have, and then I can decide if I'm going to go on with this project or not. I even thought about, because I love that sweater so much, I even thought about buying more fiber and then dyeing it, because I dyed it. Even if it doesn't come exactly the same, I can, because I haven't started yet, I can blend in with the yarns, but they don't have it. So because they don't have it now, I can't do it. But I really love the yarn that is the 75% merino, 75% blue face laster, BFL, and 25% silk. It's delicious. So I'll do. And then the final project is my sweater. So last week I had knitted, sorry, not spun. This is a 4-ply yarn, my first 4-ply that I have spun. And because this yarn was from Romany wool that had all colors in it. It had darker brown, it had cream, gray, light gray. It had everything in it. And it was extremely soft for a Romany wool. So I did a 4-ply and I had the yarns and I could see the difference in the colors of the yarn. I didn't do a good job separating by color. And so this sprinkle dye technique, low immersion sprinkle dye technique, was perfect for it, because then I got the yarns all different, and I also knit with 2 different yarns at a time. But I had done it, and when I got to this time, I had done both the sleeves. I had finished the sleeves. They were up here. So I was at the point that I would join everything and just knit the yoke. And I saw, oh, it's big. Darn. It's too large for me. I'm chubby, not to say fat. But not that fat. So it was large. And I said, oh, it would be cool if I made it larger in the bottom and then start decreasing it. And then I figured out I'm going to have to undo. So then I'm going to do what I wanted to do before, that is start with a top-down yarn. Because I want this yarn to be more, this sweater to be more like whimsical. And I wanted it, I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I wanted it to be in a way that it starts to increase, and I want it as long as possible. So I decided to start again, and I started the yoke. At the yoke, I finished the sleeves, and I put it on, and the sleeves are, I think, a little bit short. They are right here when you put them on, and I wanted them to be here. So I didn't do anything yet. It's an easy fix, right? Because this is the end of the knitting. But I didn't do anything yet because I want to see how I'm going to do the end here. So my plan is, and I'm doing each 12 rows, I am increasing 4 stitches. So it's not going to be too much, but I want it to be, enlarging it a little bit. And then I'll do the top. I watch fruit knitting all the time, right? I'm very sad now with Andrew being sick. I do love the guy. He's such a gentle soul. I pray for him all the time just because he's always in my thoughts. Everything I do somehow reminds me of him, and I pray for him because he's really nice. And And I like that podcast because they introduce so many different things or designers that I was not aware of. I tend to stick to my interweave magazines and stuff, but I learned a lot about other people like Alice Star Moore that I didn't know before. I started watching the podcast, so they're very good. And I'm talking about this because I think not this last episode, but the one before we learned that he was sick, there is this, I don't know if she's Danish, she's Scandinavian designer, is Crystal something, sorry I forgot her name. But she also, everything that she does, she puts a lining at the end, and I want to do this here because I think it's going to look good. So this sweater is afterwards process. So I got it from this book, Top Down Sweater by Ann Budd. So what it is it has different kinds of sweaters that you can do from top down. I have the ebook different sweaters from Ann Budd too, but from bottom up. And I found this pattern that had this yoke that was simple, just pearls rows together with knit rows. And I added to it by changing the colors, and that was a good way for me to mix the two colors. So I'm mixing both patterns. The other thing is that if I followed the information that I had here, the sleeves would be too large at the end. So I changed this. I reduced them more frequently too. And I'm changing this part. So this is going to be a surprise. I hope a good surprise because it's a lot of work. So I want to do what Crystal does in her designs. That is to put that extra different color lining all around the sweater. And that's why I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do the collar. It's all picked up. I just need to decide how to do the collar. I'm not quite sure. And then the bottom too, how long I can get it. I'm excited about this project. I think it's going to be nice. I do think. But I still have to work on it. And the other thing that I like is that right now it's an easy project that you don't need to think. So we're going to Toronto tomorrow to take, my daughter is going to Brazil, and I want her to take some gifts for my son and my grandson. And I also want to take her gifts and her sweater that I finished. So it's a 3-hour drive. It's a 6-hour drive, 3 to go and 3 to come. And I think that's going to be enough time for me to work on this sweater because I don't have to think. I just have to add. And when I was doing it, normally when I knit on the round, I like in the center to have to purl so that it makes a false edging there, right? So then I decide, well, I'm going to make all over it. And I think it's pretty cool because as I'm increasing, I'm getting larger, and maybe I'll end up adding the 20 stitches that I have here. So I kind of like it. It opens up nicely under the arm. And I did the same thing in the sleeves, right? I knitted in the round, but I put the 2 purl stitches there that give me the illusion of a seam. I don't like seaming, but I will do that if need be. So that's pretty much what we have for this 2 weeks that I have done. I have some other projects to go, but you know, I have to finish what I have first. I'm pretty happy we're going camping. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to have one other podcast before Christmas, or just after it, right after when we are there. So if I don't see you anymore, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, or I forgot the word. For the Jewish people, Hanukkah. I love how it sounds. Hanukkah sounds so beautiful. So I wish you a good Hanukkah if that's your faith. And whatever faith you have, I wish you safe times and a merry time with your family. We're going to be just the two of us, but nevertheless, we're going to enjoy the season holidays. So, Merry Christmas.